Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some reacts. Now we're gonna do this. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's the first Fed Electrician react I'm doing. I haven't seen this video yet. Saw the first couple of minutes of it somewhere in a different stream, but I decided I wanted to react to it myself. I'm a big fan of World War II, and this is a World War II history. I'm a big fan of the Fat Electrician as well. So, without further ado, this is How a Chicken Farmer and Inflatable Tanks Won World War II. Agent Garbo and the Ghost Army by the Fat Electrician. Let's go.
Ah, yes, the Spanish chicken farmer that trolled the Germans so hard that at most he is responsible for the Allies winning World War II, and at the very least he is responsible for World War II ending years in advance and saving hundreds of thousands of lives in the process. I cannot stress to you enough, I am not exaggerating. Today we're talking about Agent Garbo, aka Spanish chicken farmer, and a bunch of art majors with inflatable tanks, and how they became one of the most important, critical, deciding factors of all of World War II. They are quite literally the reason that D-Day worked. Okay, here's the deal. They don't teach you this in school, and you're not going to pick it up by watching Saving Private Ryan, but D-Day, the storming of the beach at Normandy, strategically speaking, on paper, was a horrible plan. Like, literally the worst plan available. Okay, when you're trying to move in hundreds of thousands...
I mean, they had machine gun encampments, the high ground, mines, the defensive position. Yeah, this was a tactical and logistical challenge like we've never seen before.
Of troops, tanks, trucks, equipment, artillery. You want the biggest beach available. Normandy, not the biggest beach available. More importantly, you want a harbor. You want somewhere for all your ships to be able to drop off all the troops and supplies. Guess what Normandy doesn't have? A harbor. And if that wasn't bad enough, half the beaches are covered in cliffs. Why are cliffs bad? Well, because the enemy is on top of the cliff, meaning the enemy has the high ground, and they're going to be shooting at you while you're trying to be a rock climber. And then, if you make it to the top of the cliff, now your back is up against a cliff and you have nowhere to fall back to. Okay?
Wait, is my screensaver still on? Oh, fuck. Alright. Take two. Take two. Didn't realize my screensaver was still on. It's fixed out. My second monitor, i.e. my phone. Alright. So, we're going to do some reacts tonight. I'm a big fan of both The Fat Electrician and World War II, and he has a World War II story to tell us. This is how a chicken farmer and inflatable tanks won World War II. Agent Garbo and the Ghost Army by the Fat Electrician. Let's go.
Ah, yes, the Spanish chicken farmer that trolled the Germans so hard that at most he is responsible for the Allies winning World War II, and at the very least he is responsible for World War II ending years in advance and saving hundreds of thousands of lives in the process. I cannot stress to you enough, I am not exaggerating. Today we're talking about Agent Garbo, aka Spanish chicken farmer, and a bunch of art majors with inflatable tanks, and how they became one of the most important, critical, deciding factors of all of World War II. They are quite literally the reason that D-Day worked. Okay, here's the deal. They don't teach you this in school, and you're not going to pick it up by watching Saving Private Ryan, but D-Day, the storming of the beach at Normandy, strategically speaking, on paper, was a horrible plan. Like, literally the worst plan available, okay? When you're trying to move in hundreds of thousands of troops, tanks, trucks, equipment, artillery, you want the biggest beach available. Normandy, not the biggest beach available. More importantly, you want a harbor. You want somewhere for all your ships to be able to drop off all the troops and supplies. Guess what Normandy doesn't have? A harbor. And if that wasn't bad enough, half the beaches are covered in cliffs. Why are cliffs bad? Well, because the enemy is on top of the cliff, meaning the enemy has the high ground, and they're going to be shooting at you while you're trying to be a rock climber. And then
Yeah, if you don't know how important the high ground is in a battle, just ask Anakin Skywalker.
if you make it to the top of the cliff, now your back is up against a cliff and you have nowhere to fall back to. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Well, that does sound like a bad idea, but because it's a bad idea, the enemy's not going to be expecting it, and you're going to be doing what the enemy isn't expecting, which is going to give you an edge. Most of the time, yes, but in this case, no, absolutely not. Why? Well, because the two most likely places for the Allied forces to launch a major invasion were Calais and Schoenberg. They both had ports, they both had big beaches, they were the perfect locations to launch a massive offensive. And Normandy is right in between the two, meaning that Germany has a ton of soldiers both in Schoenberg and in Calais, and it's not going to take them long to send their troops to Normandy to reinforce it and crush the entire offensive. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the beaches of Normandy are quite literally the meat and cheese of an ass-whooping sandwich, and the plan should not have worked. And the only reason that it did was because of a chicken farmer and a bunch of theater kids, and we're going to get into it right after word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Sundays. It's food for dogs.
Doggies.
Isn't that right, Mushu? All right. Okay.
Oh, look at that doggy.
Calm down.
Our
Anyways,
dogs are the
Sundays for
best.
Dogs is dog food that's made with a bunch of human ingredients like, actual meat and not, ground up cartilage and pig dicks. The food actually looks different. Like, it actually looks like beef jerky. It doesn't smell like a bunch of dehydrated dog food. It's air dried. It's made here in America. Mushu loves it, and it's pretty much the only thing he'll eat now. Nope. It's like all the other fancy dog foods with none of the downsides, right? You don't have to open a can every time you go to feed your dog. You don't have to stick this shit inside your refrigerator. And you can get it as a subscription service, so it just keeps showing up to your house, because at least for me, every time I had dog food on my grocery shopping list, I would always forget. Then I had to make a trip just for dog food. So it's nice to have it just show up at the house. So if you want to give Sundays a try, I'm going to have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the
Ad on top of an ad.
video.
All right, I don't own a dog. I live in the city, so it's very impractical for me to own anything larger than like a Chihuahua. And I already had a Yip-O-Matic in junior high. I don't want one of those again. I want like a big dog. But if you want a dog, give that shit a try. Looks pretty good.
All right, our story begins in 1912 in Barcelona, Spain, when Juan Pujol Garcia is born.
Barcelona. My great grandmother came from there.
He grows up as the son of a farmer in the early 1900s. When he turns 18 years old, Spain at this point in time has mandatory military service. He goes off, he serves in the military for 6 months, hates it the entire time. He just wants to go back home and raise chickens. So he finishes up his military service, goes back home, has his own little poultry farm, and he's just living life for a couple of years. And then when he's 24 in 1936, Spain is thrust into civil war. Now, I'm oversimplifying this, but essentially the Spanish Civil War had two factions. You had the Republic, which were fascist, and then you had a socialist revolution, okay? So you've got extreme left-wing ideology and you've got extreme right-wing ideology, both of which are renowned for not getting along with one another.
The more things change, the more they stay the same, it seems.
Juan doesn't care. He hated being in the military. He doesn't want to be involved. He literally just wants to be left alone to raise his chickens and live life. But that's not really how civil wars work. So what ends up happening is the socialists determine that his mother and his sister are not sympathetic to the socialist revolution, and they throw them in prison. Shortly after that, Juan is conscripted to fight in the socialist military. You know, the same people
Yeah, that sounds about right for socialists.
that just arrested his mother and sister, so obviously not a big fan. He refuses to do it.
Believe it or not, jail right away.
From here, he's in jail for a little while, then he ends up getting broken out of jail by a bunch of counter-revolutionaries that help give him a fake ID that says he's old enough to not have to get drafted. From here, Juan is like, perfect, okay, great, I'm gonna go back home, I'm gonna raise my chickens, I'm gonna mind my own business, I'm just gonna live my life the way I want to. He goes back home to his farm, finds out that the socialist revolution has seized his farm for the war effort, and basically tell him to fuck off, it's their farm now, you can't have it back.
My cabbages!
And as I'm sure you can imagine, if Juan didn't already hate socialism, he sure as shit does now, so he decides that he's gonna go and help the team that's fighting against the socialists. The problem is, he can't really get to the front lines to join.
I mean, yeah, enemy of my enemy. Sometimes you gotta align yourself with someone you might not like to take on someone who you might dislike a lot more. I mean, America did it with the Soviet Union during World War II.
That side. So he ends up joining the Socialist Revolutionary Army, volunteering to run communication lines on the front line, and then as soon as he gets close enough to the enemy line, he literally just takes off running, goes to the enemy side, and is like defecting to join their military instead. To which the Republic, the fascist regime that he's trying to join, is more than happy to accept him and let him fight against the socialists. No, I'm just kidding. They don't believe him. They think he's a spy, so they beat the shit out of him, and then they throw him in jail. At this point,
Damn, this guy's got shit luck.
realizes both of these guys are assholes. He doesn't want to be involved in any of this. He just wants to go home and raise his chickens. From here, the Spanish Civil War ends in April of 1939. A couple of months after that, in September of 1939, World War II kicks off. To which Juan looks at the sides that are fighting. You know, you've got the UK doing their monarchy, democracy type stuff. Then you've got the USSR doing communism, which is just extreme socialism. Not really a fan
Yeah, again, ew, fucking ew.
of that. And then you've got Germany, ran by the Nazis, which quite literally stands for the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
Don't like that.
Okay, nationalist, not necessarily synonymous with fascism, but it is one of the cornerstones, followed by the word socialism and German Workers' Party, okay? It's literally everything he hates wrapped up in one big ball of white supremacy. So Juan decides, fuck those guys, I'm gonna do everything I can to fight them.
You're gonna pay for this!
So he goes to Madrid to the British embassy and volunteers to be a spy. The British are like, dude, you're a chicken farmer in a neutral country. You provide absolutely no value to us. Kick rocks, we don't want your help. Go away. At this point, Juan realizes that telling the truth isn't working, so he's gonna start lying. He goes, pays off some dude that runs a printing press to make him what appears to be a fake diplomatic passport like a politician would have.
Based.
That would grant him access into Great Britain. He then takes his counterfeit politician passport, goes to the German embassy in Madrid, and says, hey, I'm a Spanish politician. I just got orders that I'm going to be stationed in London for the next couple of years. I'm sympathetic to the Nazi cause. I want to be a spy for you guys.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
And apparently the counterfeit passport was good enough because the Germans believed him. From here, the Germans give him training on how to secretly communicate with them like a spy would. Basically, he's gonna write a normal letter in Spanish like he's mailing it off to a friend, just talking about daily life or whatever random bullshit. And then in between the lines of the letter, he's gonna use invisible ink and ciphers given to him by the German to convey secret intel, and then he's gonna mail it to a particular address. From here, the Germans give him a bunch of invisible ink, the address he needs to mail the letters to. They give him £600 to buy whatever spy equipment he needs, and then they give him a a list of intel that they're looking for. Presumably, this is like the test to make sure that this guy's legit. If he can go and get this intel that we already know and show that it's accurate, he's going to prove to be a reliable spy. It's a bunch of questions like, what is the makeup of the Strategic Bombing Command of the UK? Where is this factory? What do they produce there? Yada, yada, yada. A bunch of shit they already know. But if he can figure all this out and then give them the correct information and they can verify it's correct, then he can probably go out and find information that they don't have that would actually be valuable to them. Then they give him the codename Alaric and send him on his way, and as far as the Germans are concerned, he is headed off to London. The real problem, Juan can't get to London. He doesn't actually have a diplomatic passport. He has no viable reason for being there, and while the counterfeit passport worked on the Germans, it's not going to work on the British because it's their passport. They're going to know what a counterfeit looks like.
I'm gonna need to see some identification.
Really? Makes me feel young again.
So Juan decides he's going to get as close as he can, which is Lisbon in Portugal. So he heads off to Lisbon, gets a job working at the public library, and then uses his position at the library to get up-to-date newspapers, encyclopedias, military textbooks, and figures out the answers to all of the questions that the Germans had and sends off a letter verifying that he's a reputable spy. And of course, he gets all the answers correct or correct enough, and the Germans believe him, so now he's a reputable spy in the eyes of the Nazis. He then goes a step further and uses up-to-date British newspapers to find rental listings and picks out an apartment for, however much it costs a month and tells the Germans, hey, I'm living here renting this apartment, and the Germans start paying his rent for him even though he's not even living there.
What an idiot! Oh, what a
Nice.
loser!
Based. He's ripping off the Germans. That is based. Oh, damn, they're all compromised.
Good!
From here, the Germans want him to build out an entire spy network, basically covering all of England. They want spies outside of military installations to track troop movements. They want spies at all the major ports and harbors tracking shipping movements. They want spies all over England. Problem, Juan isn't even in England. He's still in Portugal working at a library, so he just starts making shit up. He starts writing the Germans, coming up with all these elaborate lies of all the new agents that he's acquired that are completely fictional. He's like, yeah, I've got, Agent Gimbal, who lives in Liverpool. He's of Portuguese descent, and he's going to keep an eye on the harbor for us. I've got Agent Carvel, and he's of German descent. He lives in Wales. He's going to be tracking shipping movements over there, and he just does it and keeps building out this massive fake spy network that doesn't even exist. And then he convinces the Germans all of his spies need to get paid, so he's getting the wages of all of the spies in his
That
network
don't
that
exist.
don't even exist.
And I make nothing. Zero. Zilch. By the time I pay all my scientists and my research department lab coats, it's a wash.
So from here, as far as the Germans are concerned, he's basically worked himself into like mid-level management of this spy network, and he's not actually doing any spying himself. He's just managing the 20 other spies and relaying all the intel. Now, Juan realizes this as well, and he realizes the beauty of it because now he can just start telling the Germans ridiculous shit that he pulls out of his ass, and if he gets called out on it, he can just blame it on the spy below him that doesn't actually exist, right? Like if he comes up with some crazy story to get the Germans to do something stupid, it's not falling back on Agent Alaric, it's falling back on Agent Gimbal or whoever gave him the faulty intel, and then they can fire that guy and he gets to keep his job. From here, he just starts lying. He just feeds the Germans lines of bullshit that's completely made up out of his own head while he's sitting in a public library in Portugal. For example, he's just like, okay, what would the British maybe be up to that would interest the Germans? Like, oh, aircraft carriers are a big deal in World War II. Yeah, the British are designing some super massive mega aircraft carrier and they're testing it on, let me check my encyclopedia at the library, the biggest lake in Britain, Lake Windermere. Yeah, they're testing the new super carrier on Lake Windermere. Sends that off to the Germans, just complete made up bullshit. And it's working. So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to throw a Hail Mary. I'm going to start actually being disruptive to the Germans. I'm going to start physically impacting the outcome of this war. He tells the Germans that his spy up in Liverpool spotted a massive British naval convoy and they're setting off. They're going to sail along the coastline, go through Gibraltar, and resupply all the Allied troops in Malta, and it's going to be a big deal. So the Germans are freaking out. They're like, holy shit, we're going to go take out this massive convoy with our warships and our submarines, and it's going to be a huge win for the Nazis. Hooray. Obviously, the convoy doesn't actually exist, but the Germans send out a...
Is this a wild goose chase? That's fucking Awesome.
Massive naval detachment to go look for it for like weeks, and they never find shit. Now he's having a real effect on the outcome of World War II. He's having thousands of German naval personnel on warships go out, wasting their time, burning through fuel, using up their assets. That naval detachment could be out there attacking somebody else, and he's just wasting their time. He's having a real tangible effect on the outcome of World War II. And while this is going on, unbeknownst to him, British intelligence, MI6, has developed the Ultra Machine, which is like a predecessor to the computer. It's a gigantic calculator, and they're using it to break encrypted Nazi radio traffic. And when a massive naval detachment goes out on a convoy, there's going to be some radio traffic about it, and they're intercepting all this radio traffic where the Germans are looking for a massive British supply convoy to go take it out, and the British are like, what the fuck are they talking about? There's no convoy. Why do they think that we have a massive convoy going on? So they think that the Germans have a spy out there somewhere and launch a massive manhunt looking for this German spy. And obviously they're looking for him in London around Liverpool because that's where he would be to have that intel or that mistaken intel or to get that false impression, and they never find him because he's in Lisbon, in Portugal, at a public library, fucking with the Nazis.
That's hilarious.
Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. That's right.
A couple of months go by, it's like mid-1942. He's been messing with the Germans for about a year now. So he decides that he's going to go to the British embassy in Lisbon and tell them like, hey, here's all this intel. The Germans trust me. I want to be a double agent spy for you guys. The British, super skeptical, start vetting the guy, and they see that he was the one responsible for the convoy fiasco, and they're like, holy shit, we found the guy. He's not in the UK. He's over in Lisbon. Oh fuck. So he immediately gets hired. They give him the code name Garbo, referring to a famous actress at the time that was renowned as the best actress in the world, but they think he's the best actor in the world because he's leading the Germans on this wild goose chase. So they move
Didn't I say that? Didn't I say that?
him over to Britain, and he is working out of MI6 headquarters. From here, because now he has real British intel, the lies get more strategic. They get more accurate, but not in a helpful way, but the Germans don't realize that. So he's gaining more and more trust with the Germans because his quality of intel continues to go up. But then he almost gets caught being a double spy because the Germans found out that there was a massive naval convoy that just left Liverpool that Garbo didn't report on. So they go back to Garbo and they're like, hey, we know you have a spy in the area whose whole job is to look over this harbor. Why didn't you report this to us so we could do something about it? To which Garbo was like,
He was drunk or with a woman or some shit. I don't know. Just make up some bullshit.
yeah, that guy, he died actually. Yeah, no, he was in the hospital sick for a couple of weeks, and he's dead now. And then had the British take all of the, you know, the fictional story, because the Germans knew the guy's name and his code name and his descent and all these fucking fictional details that he had created, and had the British put an obituary in the British newspaper.
That's fucking hilarious. Obituary for a man that never existed just to fuck with the other side. Oh, that's fucking gold.
For this fictional man, and then he sent them the obituary, to which the Germans sent their condolences and severance pay for his widow.
Damn you, Roger.
Could you imagine having to play poker against this guy? He's the greatest bullshitter of all time. Like, if this were a video game, he put all of his skill points in charisma, because the Germans just seem to believe every line of bullshit that comes out of his mouth. Dude literally got this close to getting caught as a double agent and somehow manages to pull out a huge sum of money and get paid for it while also still being considered a reliable source. Don't worry, it gets even better. In November of 1942, the Allies launched Operation Torch, which was like the big advance into North Africa. Massive naval operation, huge offensive. It would be a big deal if the Germans found out and knew about this plan, right? So what they do is they don't report on it. But the Germans are gonna wonder, hey, why didn't you fucking report on this? Because we know you have spies. We can't say another guy died of illness in the hospital. What are we gonna do? So Garbo comes up with a plan. He's gonna write extremely detailed, 100% accurate, like how many ships are leaving the port, where are they going, when are they gonna get there, when's the attack, the whole 9 yards, writes it all up, has the British government post-stamp it like a week before the attack so they have time to do something about it, but then just hangs on to the letter.
Got lost in the fucking mail. No. Otamis could actually pull the classic "It got lost in the fucking mail."
Until the day the attack happens, and then mails it off. So the British get 100% accurate information that would have a huge impact on the battle,
Too
but they
late.
get it too late. And from the German perspective, after they're reading this letter, they're like, holy shit, this is exactly what happened. This would have been gold if we would have gotten it on time, but this letter got delayed in the wartime mail. They were so pleased with the level of intel because the mail being slow isn't Garbo's fault, and he did a great job. So they give him a huge bonus and then give a 50% pay bump to the 20+ person spy network that doesn't even fucking exist.
Set your look with Laura Mercier setting powder with vitamin C. Effortlessly blurs.
I haven't cried like that since Titanic.
And then give a 50% pay bump to the 20+ person spy network that doesn't even fucking exist.
I haven't cried like that since Titanic.
And then they're like, Alaric, Garbo, same guy, is too valuable of an asset. His intel is worth so much, we can't afford to have him being delayed in the wartime post. So they arranged for him to get German radio equipment, an up-to-date Enigma machine with up-to-date ciphers.
Oh God, that's oh God, that's such a blunder. They just gave away all their secret codes to the enemy.
And he has everything to communicate with the Germans directly.
Boyd, may I have the COS, please? Oh, I'm so happy! I'm so happy! This is the best day of my life!
So now, every time the Germans change the Enigma code in the Enigma machine, they don't need to crack it and develop the new cipher. They literally send the new cipher to their spy that's actually working for the British. Alaric, aka Garbo, aka a fucking chicken farmer from Spain, is now the most trusted, high-value spy that the Germans have from their perspective. And because of that, the Allies have him work on the most important deception mission of World War II, Operation Fortitude. All right, Operation Fortitude. It is basically one gigantic psyop. It is the miscommunication campaign to set the stage for D-Day. Now, D-Day in that of itself is pretty controversial. The British did not want to do D-Day. It's a big, risky move, having this massive amphibious landing. It could draw out the war for years or lose the war entirely if it fails. So the British wanted to take the more conservative route of going through North Africa, taking over Italy, and then pushing into the rest of Europe. Okay, nothing wrong with that. That's a good plan. However, it's going to make the war last longer, and the longer war lasts, the more resources you have to use, the more people are going to die, and most importantly, America's got to wrap this shit up because we've got another war scheduled with Korea in like 7 years, so we gotta get this ball rolling. Okay, on
Our dance card is full.
top of that, the Soviets are getting absolutely massacred on the Eastern Front, and if the Germans take over there, they're going to have access to all the Soviet resources, and the Germans are going to get even stronger, or potentially even worse, if somehow the Soviets pull it out of their ass and they win and they invade, they're going to take over all of Europe, and I don't fucking like the communists either, so we're not going to have either of those options. We got to get in there, fuck shit up, and leave. Okay, General Eisenhower's the Supreme Allied Commander. He's the one running the show, and he's an American, and America says we're doing D-Day. Guess what? We're doing D-Day.
fucking D-Day.
Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing to a disgusting degree, but this is more or less how the conversation goes. Fuck, fine, we'll do the D-Day massive amphibious landing thing. Where do you want to do it? The most obvious place is going to be Calais. It's right across the Strait of Dover. That's named after a guy named Ben, right? What? Nothing, sorry, please continue. Okay, the upside of Calais is it's got a harbor. We can land a bunch of troops there. It'd be a good access point. The problem is the Germans have fortified the ever-living fuck out of it and have a ton of soldiers there because it's the most obvious place that we're gonna invade. All right, so we won't go there. What else you got? Well, there's Schoenberg, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's the next obvious place, so the Germans have fortified it. All right, what else you got? Well, I guess the Germans probably wouldn't be expecting Normandy, but there's no harbor and it's covered in cliffs. That's perfect. We're storming the beaches of Normandy. I mean, okay, what about the cliffs? No problem. We'll teach all the boys how to rock climb. We'll have boats that shoot rocket-propelled grappling hooks up the cliff, and then we'll have boats with giant firemen's ladders that go up with machine guns on top and mow down the enemy while the boys are rock climbing.
Fucking based. Fucking based.
Okay, well, what, I mean, there's a lot of like rivers and ravines and creeks and stuff in that area. What if the Germans blow up the bridges and then our tanks get caught up in these little ravines and they can't cross?
We've got that covered.
Build bridges, we'll strap them to tanks, and we'll bring the bridges with us. Okay, humor me. Let's just assume all of that works. What about the lack of a harbor? Don't worry about that. We'll make one back home in America and bring it with us. I'm sorry, I think you misheard what I said. I said harbor, you know, like the terrain feature. Yeah, motherfucker, did I stutter? We'll build one and bring it with us. I'm sorry, just so we're on the same page. You're gonna build a terrain feature in America and bring it with you to the invasion. Yes, it's not that complicated. We're gonna call it a Mulberry Harbor. It's gonna work great, okay? If you think that's impressive, we're building a portable star to give to Japan later. Just trust me, we're gonna figure it out.
We just be building shit.
Okay, I guess. What do you need from us? Well, you and the boys over at MI6 got the best spy network in the world. I need you to convince the Germans that we are in fact going to attack exactly where they think we're going to attack, over in Calais, to take a bunch of pressure off of Normandy so we have time to get in there and invade. Okay, I mean, we can fake radio traffic and give them false intel, but they're going to have aerial reconnaissance in the area and they're going to see that we're not building up a massive army to invade and they're going to know that we're lying. Okay, so we'll put a massive army there. Yeah, problem, we only have one massive army, so if we put it right across the Strait of Dover from Ben Dover. I get your joke now. Ha! Yeah, anyways, if we put the massive army right across the Strait of Calais, how on earth are we going to put the massive army where we need it over in Normandy to actually invade? We're going to fake it, obviously. Okay, here's the deal. I've got like 1,100 artsy-fartsy theater kid art majors that I don't really know what to do with. We're going to put them in charge of this, and they're going to build a fake ghost army that's going to imitate a massive invasion force. So I need you guys to start building fake wooden planes and fake wooden landing ships. I'm going to call the people that make the Macy's Day Parade floats, and I'm going to have them make us like 1,000 inflatable tanks, a bunch of inflatable trucks, and a bunch of inflatable artillery pieces, and we'll...
That's so fucking awesome. They got beat with fucking kids' toys.
Start staging up for a massive invasion. And that's pretty much what happened. America sets about creating a ghost army that's ran by 1,100 art majors known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, and they are sent over right across the Strait of Dover to set up this massive fake army. They start setting everything up and staging it so aerial reconnaissance sees it, and while that's going on, Garbo and the rest of the MI6 spy network is sending fake intel to the German high command being like, hey, we just had 15,000 new troops come in. We just had a bunch of tanks come in. They're setting up. They're gonna invade Calais. They brought in more troops. Oh, now there's even more. They've got 150,000 men ready to invade Calais. And then somebody got a really good idea to sell this to the Germans. You see, a couple of months prior in 1943, Patton got in a ton of trouble and got basically yanked out of World War II because he was in an aid station and there was a couple of soldiers with shell shock, basically severe crippling PTSD. And hard-ass General Patton was under the impression that these guys were faking it so they didn't have to go off and fight in the war, so he decided to beat a couple of them up. It really pissed off the American people. Eisenhower was furious, so he ends up getting yanked out of World War II. But the Germans never actually believed that America was going to pull their best fighting general out of World War II because he roughed up a couple of privates. So they've been thinking the entire time that Patton is off somewhere on some covert mission building up an invasion force getting ready to attack. So they bring Patton in as bait. They start calling this massive fake army FUSAG, or First Army Group, and they've got Patton parading around getting his picture taken. He's in newspapers. The Germans are obviously monitoring that. Then they've got Garbo, their most trusted spy, relaying the info that Patton's here. He's the one leading this massive army, and the Germans buy it. Hook, line, and sinker.
This is just too easy.
So the Germans are like, if America's sending their best general to attack Calais, we're gonna send our best general. They send Erwin Rommel up there with like 150 to 200,000 soldiers. 19 infantry divisions and 2 armored divisions are all now in Calais waiting for Patton to come. This is it. This is gonna be the epic showdown between General Patton and Erwin Rommel, the 2 most well-known generals of World War II. Except it's not, because it's all bullshit.
Chevy Super Cruise, powered by OnStar. And Motor Trend's Best Tech Award for hands-free driving. And a new sense of freedom on the...
Okay, in the days leading up to D-Day, Garbo and MI6 really set the stage. They tell them, like the day before D-Day, that a bunch of more troops just showed up, and it's going to be 2 weeks at the earliest that America's going to launch this attack. So if there's anything that happens before then, it's obviously going to be a diversion to try to get you to take some of your troops out of Calais to soften up the target for Patton. Because of this, Erwin Rommel, on June 5th,
hold on, let's go back. Let's go back.
Because it's all bullshit. Okay, in the days leading up to D-Day, Garbo and MI6 really set the stage. They tell them, like the day before D-Day, that a bunch of more troops just showed up, and it's going to be 2 weeks at the earliest that America's going to launch this attack. So if there's anything that happens before then, it's obviously going to be a diversion to try to get you to take some of your troops out of Calais to soften up the target for Patton. Because of this, Erwin Rommel on June 5th, aka the day before D-Day, is like, sweet, I've got some time to kill. Tomorrow, June 6th, again, D-Day, is my wife's birthday, so I'm going to go back home to Germany so I can play hide the bratwurst and celebrate.
That is so serendipitous that one of the biggest generals on the other side just so happened to have his wife's birthday on the day we were launching our big invasion. That is just you're just beautiful.
Erwin Rommel leaves. D-Day.
So, Rommel being a good husband may have lost Germany the war.
It happens, he's in Germany. He's not even in France. So while the birthday girl's laying on the bed pretending her feet hate each other, 156,000
Nick. Nick.
Allied troops hit the beaches of Normandy. And because the Germans are convinced that America's going to attack at Calais, there's only like 20 to 25,000 Germans defending the beaches of Normandy. So the plan is working. Rommel hears that there's an invasion that gets launched. He makes a beeline back to his headquarters right outside of Paris, France. He doesn't actually get there until June 7th, D-Day +1. He immediately does the worst thing possible for the Allied forces. He sends 40,000 infantry troops and an entire armored division from Calais down to Normandy. Okay, this is going to be absolutely catastrophic to D-Day. That's going to triple the amount of Germans guarding the beach and add a fuck ton of tanks on top of that. The absolute best case scenario is this adds tens of thousands of Allied forces dying, and the worst case scenario, it means that D-Day is going to fail as a whole. And it's more than likely going to be the second one, because if Rommel rolls up with a bunch of tanks, he is going to drive the American forces back into the ocean, and it is going to be Dunkirk 2.0 all over again. And then, a chicken farmer from Spain saves the day. Garbo, Alaric, the most trusted German spy, sends a transmission to German high command that the attack at Normandy is a feint, it's a ruse, it's just a distraction, do not pull your...
Good shit, Garbo, good shit. You saved all the boys, man. Yeah, Gore, I'm expanding into some reacts.
Out of Calais, and this makes it all the way into German high command and all the way to Hitler himself, and Hitler signs off on the order for Rommel to turn his forces around and go back to Calais and wait for Patton. Literally creating the timeline we live in today where D-Day was a success, and the cherry on top, Hitler then signs off on an order to award Garbo, Alaric, the Iron Cross, which is literally the Nazi equivalent of the Medal of Honor.
Oh, that's absolutely rich.
How do you have these?
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights.
Garbo has Hitler so convinced that this attack is coming at Calais that Rommel leaves his forces there for 6 weeks. And by then, it's too late. So the invasion of Normandy works because of Garbo and the Ghost Army, and then after that, the Ghost Army gets deployed into France. And from here, they go full PSYOP mode. They would roll up to wherever a real infantry division was. They would then paint that infantry division's logo on all of their inflatable shit, and then have their same patches. And then while that unit moved out, they would pretend to still be that unit in the same spot, so the Germans don't know where an entire division disappeared to, because they still think it's right there. And the
It's like using substitute in Pokemon.
level they went to make it look like they were legitimately the unit they had replaced was incredible. The Ghost Army had their own Morse code guys, and they were going to be blasting out fake radio transmissions, fake Morse code, fake everything, in addition to all the inflatables and just appearing like a real military unit. And with Morse code, you can tell who the operator is. The way that your hand strikes the little keypad is very much like handwriting or your spoken voice. You can identify different people and different different operators. So these Ghost Army Morse code operators would go and sit with the real infantry division's Morse code operators and learn their exact handwriting, so to speak, so that they could mimic it perfectly. They had trucks with gigantic loudspeakers that would blast noises of tanks moving, trucks moving, NCOs yelling at soldiers to put that cigarette out, all kinds of shit to make it look like a real military unit was there. They took a bunch of theater majors, actors, and they would send them out into the nearby towns with the patches of whatever unit they were imitating, and they would go into bars and get drunk and have conversations dropping fake intel about where they're going next and what they're doing.
I love it. All warfare is based on deception, Sun Tzu.
Next, so that German spies would hear about it and relay false information. Every major step the US military had to make, the Ghost Army was there drawing enemy fire the entire time. When Patton finally did return to theater in Operation Cobra, the Ghost Army was there. When US forces crossed the Siegfried Line, the Ghost Army was there drawing enemy fire and German attention so that they could actually cross at the real location. When Allied forces crossed the Rhine River, the Ghost Army was there pretending to build a bridge 10 miles away from where the real Allied forces were crossing. I keep calling them theater kids and art majors like it's an insult. It's not. These guys have the biggest balls on the planet. You know what sucks more than going into combat in a tank and having the Germans try to kill you? Going into combat, having the Germans try to kill you like
you have an inflatable tank.
You got a fucking inflatable tank. The Ghost Army is basically the rodeo clowns for the entire US military at this point. The Bull Rider gets all the glory, but the rodeo clowns are in the ring the entire time saving everybody's ass.
Thank you!
And to make things worse, this is top secret. They can't tell anybody that's not already in the know, so they have to keep the entire thing under wraps, which means they're constantly running into high-ranking officers from the US military that are asking questions, getting mad at them because they don't think they're supposed to be doing what they're doing, and it just causes a whole mess of issues. My favorite story is the Ghost Army was out on a convoy moving to another location, and some general comes up all pissed off because this unit isn't supposed to be in his AO, and he wants to know what the fuck they're up to. And these guys aren't allowed to tell the general what they're doing, so they fucking lie, and they come up with the best lie ever. They literally tell the general, we're just going around making sure all the street signs are the same size. To which the general is like, why the fuck are you doing that? And they're like, I don't know, man. We just got the orders by our chain of command. They told us to go around and make sure all the street signs.
You know, that sounds believable enough. That sounds bullshit enough to be believable.
Or dress right dress so nobody gets lost, which sounds dumb as fuck, but if you were ever in the military, that is the most military thing that would happen, and it 100% would. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, the Ghost Army, had a tremendous impact on World War II, not just on D-Day, but in the entire European theater. So World War II comes to an end. The Ghost Army is essentially sworn to secrecy. Nobody knows that this even happened until the 1990s. The British find out that Garbo got awarded the Iron Cross, so they're like, oh shit, we should probably give this guy an award too. So they give him the Order of the British Empire, which is the highest ranking award they can possibly give him. Homie literally got in the...
He got he got the most fucking prestigious award from both sides of a conflict.
Playing for both teams. And the Nazis never even found out that he was a double agent. The British then give him a big lump sum of money as a thank you, and then he's kind of worried that Nazi sympathizers are going to track him down and kill him if they find out that he was a double agent that quite literally preemptively end World War II, if not is responsible for winning the entire thing. So in 1949, he fakes his own death and disappears. From here, everybody thinks he's dead for decades, and then 25 years later, a historian hears that he might be alive somewhere in South America and ends up tracking him down, and he's a teacher that owns a bookstore in Venezuela. So the British bring him back over for the 40th anniversary of D-Day. He gets publicly recognized. He's a hero. He finally gets his moment in the sunshine. He gets to go to Normandy and see where all of the battles unfolded. And then, while overlooking one of the cemeteries at Normandy, he said, and I quote, "I knew I saved tens of thousands of lives,
you wish you could have saved
but I don't
more.
think I did enough." And that is the story of how a chicken farmer from Barcelona and a bunch of theater kids with inflatable tanks helped win World War II. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. I've said it once and I will say it again. Don't piss off the farmers. They're dangerous.
My cap!
Oh, forget it.
Oh, one more thing. I actually got the video for this idea when I went to the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. with Ethan, Mr. Habitual Line Crosser here on YouTube. They actually had one of these inflatable tanks there in an exhibit. Me and Ethan actually have an exclusive show over on Pepperbox called Habitually Fat, where that's all we do is go to different museums all across the country and get guided tours. And that's just one of my exclusive shows there. I also have a show with PewView where me and him shoot a bunch of guns that we're not normally allowed to shoot on YouTube. I have a talk show with Angry Cops, Eli Double Tap, and Habitual Line Crosser called Kinda Consensual. You can even see all of us try to box each other on there. And the best part about it is I'm part owner of the entire streaming service, me and a bunch of other YouTubers, so there's no censorship, there's no ads, there's just one monthly subscription fee, and you can get a 2-week free trial if you wanted to go check it out.
All right, that was cool. That was cool. All right. Next we have an Atozy video. Homeless TikToker destroyed a free house gifted to her. Let's see what this is all about.
This TikToker traded up from nothing to a house, and then gave this house away to another TikTok user in need, only to find out a year later that that person she gave it to destroyed the house and is now trying to ruin her life. My main question is why? But it's safe to say that what started as one of the more wholesome stories to come out of social media recently ended up in becoming one of the most heartbreaking examples of kindness being taken advantage of. So this TikToker spent 18 months of her life trading up from a bobby pin to get a house. She then completely renovated it and gave it away to someone in need, only to find out that it was destroyed and abandoned roughly a year later, followed by accusations that she was a fraud. And the worst part is, the one who accused the TikToker of being a fraud and destroyed the house was the same TikToker who had been given the house in the first place. How does that even happen? But before we dive into that story, if you've never heard of the whole trading up concept before, it's essentially what it says on the tin. You start with something completely worthless, and then you just keep trading it up until, I guess, you're happy. And if you stay persistent enough and are lucky
I've seen a few of those videos. It's something else.
enough to meet a bunch of kind people and you're very public with it on social media, you could end up with something pretty amazing, especially when you tie it into doing something charitable. And this whole thing was popularized back in 2005 when a man by the name of Kyle McDonald began with just one red paperclip. Almost an entire year later, and after only 14 trades, he ended up with an actual house. And since then, dozens of social media creators have made their own spin-off versions of this trend, including Ryan Trahan, who probably had the most popular version of this called the Penny Challenge. But after taking some inspiration from the original challenge, in 2022, a TikToker decided to revive the concept and put a fresh take on it. Instead of keeping the final reward she ended up with, she chose to give it away to someone who actually needed it. And unlike back in 2005 when the original creator of the One Red Paperclip project first attempted it, we now live in an era of masses being on social media. So turning this journey into content was a no-brainer, and no doubt helped tremendously with this challenge. So meet Demi Skipper, the TikToker who saw the One Red Paperclip as a chance to do something positive. She created the Trade Me project, in which she started to trade from a single bobby pin with the ultimate goal of eventually ending up with a house. Here she documented her entire journey on social media channels, posting videos of each trade as she slowly worked her way up from that bobby pin to increasingly valuable items.
So I can't buy anything, I can't use any money, and I can't trade anyone I know. I started with a bobby pin. From that bobby pin, I traded for a pair of earrings. Those earrings then went for margarita glasses. It was a set of 4. And then after that, a vacuum, then a snowboard. That snowboard then went for an Apple TV, and the Apple TV for a pair of Bose headphones, which I thought was awesome. Then an Xbox, a very old MacBook.
So yeah, you get the point. So
Off a fucking bobby pin, Jesus Christ.
So about 10 trades later, we started seeing some big trades.
Then the Peloton, and then from the Peloton, a Mustang, a Jeep, a tiny cabin on wheels, a Honda CRV. Then the Honda went for 3 tractors, and then the 3 tractors went for the Chipotle celebrity card.
After landing the Chipotle celebrity card, which granted unlimited free food for a year plus a fully catered dinner for 50 people, totaling an estimated value of $20,000, many people believed that Demi's challenge had actually peaked. Some people said trading it away would be the worst mistake of her entire journey, because no one would ever offer anything worth more than that. But Demi did not listen. Determined to prove them wrong, she carefully mapped out her next steps. Her focus then shifted to celebrities who were die-hard Chipotle fans. She became the Bureau of Burritos. If someone had ever been photographed holding a Chipotle burrito, chances are they were already on her radar. Demi actually got close to closing a deal with a couple of NFL players, but those negotiations ended up falling through in the last minute. Then, after months of dead ends, an unexpected email came through from a woman by the name of Alyssa, proudly calling herself Chipotle's biggest fan. She reached out from Canada. Alyssa ran a flower business and was willing to offer something that completely flipped the game. An off-the-grid trailer equipped with solar panels and a Tesla Powerwall, valued at about $40,000. And against all odds,
that sounds fucking awesome.
Demi had found someone who not only matched, but double the card's value.
I am so excited to let you guys know that I've officially made my new trade, and it's worth $40,000. In my last trade, I traded 3 tractors for a Chipotle celebrity card, which gives its new owner unlimited Chipotle for an entire year, starting from the day they get the card. This trade, like so many others, was a tough one. So I got to work until I found Alyssa. Alyssa runs a sustainable flower company called Ladybugs, and also happens to be one of the biggest Chipotle fans I've ever met.
But just as
I'll admit Chipotle is good. A little too spicy, but good.
Seemed like everything was falling into place, Demi was hit with one of the most frustrating hurdles of her entire journey. It was 2020. We were still in the post-COVID era, so stuff was locked down. So because of that, borders, they've been closed since 2020 from the US to Canada. So it wasn't super easy to just move a trailer from Canada into the US. And after weeks of navigating paperwork and border regulations, she finally found a way to make it happen, only to be told that the trailer's wheels were illegal under US transportation standards. So Demi, once again, was stuck. She then called the department every day, even offering to file the paperwork herself if that's what it took. But there was no way around it. She had to wait. For 3 entire months, the $40,000 trailer sat untouched in Canada. Eventually, though, a kind follower of her project offered to pick up the trailer and store it in her driveway near the US border until Demi could get it. So she and her husband packed up their car and drove 15 hours north. Once they finally laid eyes on the trailer, they decorated it, photographed it, and got it ready for the next trade. And before they even made it back home, the next opportunity had already come knocking. Because while her husband was driving them back home, Demi was back on the grind, scrolling through messages, searching for her next trade until she found a DM of a woman who showed interest in the trailer. So Demi messaged her back to see if there was any real potential here. The woman revealed that she was a professional house flipper, someone who'd owned around 15 properties at a given time. Apparently, she'd been following the Trade Me project from pretty much the very beginning, just waiting for the right time to come along. And she wanted to trade one of her homes, a house in Tennessee, for the trailer.
Okay, we're walking up to it. This feels so surreal. Oh my god.
Damn.
Oh my god. A year and a half of trading.
By the way, the ideal number of house levels is 1. Stairs are the devil's work.
A single bobby pin until I get a house. And I've done it.
So that was it. After a long 28 trades, countless hours of negotiating, Demi finally landed the big one, an actual house.
Is this my house? Answer, please.
You walk through the front door and you're immediately in the main living room of the house with wall-to-wall hardwood floors. Next, just off the living room is the kitchen, with enough room for a small table, but definitely in need of some new cabinets and counters. Going to the back of the house is the first bedroom with new carpet and a big-sized closet, followed by the second bedroom down the hall, with also a good-sized closet and a great view out the windows to the backyard. Lastly is the bathroom with a tub. It's definitely dated, but could be fixed up to be really beautiful.
But here's the thing. The house she ended up with was pretty much falling apart. Not only were there a lot of structural issues, but it was genuinely just very outdated.
We got a call that things weren't going as planned, so we went to go check it out. First, the structure that's supposed to keep the wall up doesn't actually connect to the ground. It looks like it's completely rotted away. Second, there's nearly nothing holding up this floor. Right here you can see 3 joists, but there's supposed to be many more of these. And then it rained.
Oh.
And there is
Oh dear.
6 inches of standing
Oh
water.
dear, that's a lot of water.
However, Demi and her husband, they were not going to let that stop them, so they decided to renovate the entire place from top to bottom. And it's safe to say, they absolutely crushed it.
And here's what it looks like now. We fixed the foundation, put in new hardwood floors, completely redid the kitchen with all new appliances, added a washer dryer in the hallway, new beds, including a bed for her dog, and a brand new bathroom. I can't believe it all came from a single bobby pin.
They got a new roof, new appliances, new furniture, and beds. They even updated the siding and added an outdoor grilling patio in the backyard. I mean, they turned this entire old-looking house into a brand new home. And the fact they did all of that just to provide a home for someone else is extremely impressive. Once the renovation was complete, Demi put out a word that they were looking for someone to take ownership of the house, and they started accepting applications. And I can only imagine how tough this time actually was, because they received over 2,000 submissions from people explaining why they needed help. And after reviewing all of them, one person stood out above everyone else. Her name was Shay. She was a 19-year-old woman from Pennsylvania. In the video of her submission, Shay explained that her mother had passed away in a car accident when she was just 2 years old. So she and her siblings moved in with their dad. But then he unfortunately got cancer a few years later, became very depressed, and ended up... So she then moved in with her grandparents, but her grandpa passed away and her grandma got pneumonia and had been hospitalized for an extended period of time. During the time her grandma was in the hospital, her uncle moved in. And according to Shay, he was abusive and had problems with alcohol. And when her grandma then eventually came home from the hospital, she just wasn't the same person anymore.
That same month, my grandmother was discharged from the nursing home, and that gave me a little bit of hope, and I thought that maybe it would switch his act up a bit and everything would be good. Unfortunately, that was not the case.
So obviously, going off of this story, Shay's entire childhood was definitely tough. She had never really had stability or a place to call home. By the time she was 18, she couldn't mentally handle living in that situation anymore. So she moved in with a friend. And that's where she was living when she submitted her application to the Trade Me project. And after seeing this, Demi and her husband decided she would be the perfect person for this house. And most importantly, this wasn't going to come with any mortgage, rent, or monthly bills. It was completely free, no strings attached, which is an extremely charitable thing to do. So Demi flew out to Pennsylvania to tell Shay in person. And you can see how grateful Shay looked when she found out the surprise.
We came all the way here because I felt like I wanted to see you in person, and I'm here to tell you that the house is yours. There's no way. Yeah, it's yours. Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
And it did not stop there. Demi also attended Shay's graduation, helped her boyfriend, and his mother move into the house, and even set up an Amazon wish list so her followers could donate household essentials and have them delivered directly to Shay's new address. And then on top of all of that, they gave her a $10,000 check to help her get started in her new life in Tennessee. She really went above and beyond for this new family. This, without a doubt, is like someone winning the lottery. To get a free home to live in perpetually, 10 grand, a bunch of free stuff in the house.
Yeah, that's super nice.
It's safe to say the Trade Me project completely changed Shay's life, but unfortunately, that's where everything started to go downhill very fast. So Shay, her boyfriend, and her mother moved into the house and got settled. And for a while, everything seemed fine. But then Demi started getting messages from Shay's neighbors. Apparently, there were several packages sitting outside of the house, getting rained on, and the neighbor was really concerned about them. Demi immediately reached out to Shay to ask about it, and Shay explained that she was back in Pennsylvania visiting for a few days and she couldn't find a flight back to Tennessee. Okay, no big deal. People visit their families. That's normal. Except a week went by and Demi still hadn't heard anything from Shay, and the packages, they were still sitting there. So she then reached out again, asking if Shay was coming home yet or if the neighbor could drop off the packages. She also asked if Shay could take some pictures of the rugs, the house, because the company that donated them wanted to use those photos for marketing purposes. But unfortunately, there was no response. So she kept trying, and then finally, Shay replied, saying that she would be home that night and she would take the pictures. But that night came and went, and nothing happened. 3 more days passed before Demi reached out again, and Shay...
I smell
His excuse was she had only had Wi-Fi sometimes, which doesn't quite add up, but okay. So for the next 2 months, the same pattern kept repeating. Demi would reach out, get no response at all, or some random excuse to why Shay wasn't back yet, or couldn't do whatever she was being asked to do. Eventually, Demi just donated all those packages to Goodwill because she couldn't get a straight answer about when Shay would actually be there to pick up the packages. And in October, Demi finally asked the question that was probably on her mind for months. She flat out asked Shay if she was actually planning to move into the house, because if not, she wanted to give it to someone who would actually live there and appreciate it. And Shay's response was interesting, to put it lightly. She said she definitely planned on moving in, but admitted that she had booked flights multiple times and then canceled them in the last minute because she was scared. She mentioned being afraid because she didn't have a driver's license and would have to rely on buses or Uber to get around. She also mentioned her dog, saying how much it loved it there and how she wanted to pass the house down to someone else who needed it. Demi's response was incredibly understanding and patient. She said that she totally got it, and she said she was proud of Shay and she didn't mind managing everything while Shay figured things out. But despite Demi's continued patience and support, 14 months went by with basically no updates and no real communication.
It's more than a year. God damn.
So, after 14 months of managing a house from out of state with no real contact from the person who was actually living there, Demi and her husband decided they needed to drive to Tennessee to check on the property themselves. And what they found was so much worse than what they could have imagined. The house was completely trashed. There were urine stains on the floor, trash shoved in the closets, the kitchen was a disaster, and the fridge was full of rotten food.
So August 13th, 2023, I actually went down to Clarksville to see what was happening with this house. She hadn't been there in 14 months, and this is where things get insane.
I don't know if you guys are old enough to know this.
We got to the house, and the house was completely ruined. Everything inside, but essentially there was pee on the ground. All of the garbage that had been used in the month that she was there was jammed into closets, so you can imagine what it looks like after 14 months. I've never seen anything like this. I cried in the front yard of the house. Just can't imagine that somebody would do this. And after 14 months of me talking with her this entire time and her saying she was moving back, we're just waiting, we just needed more time. And I honestly believed that.
You may take the truck. You might have some in the truck.
But this wasn't just neglect. There was intentional damage throughout the house. Things that would cost serious money to repair.
And they just renovated it. God damn it.
That had been deliberately destroyed. This place was basically uninhabitable after all of that work that they had done for free, essentially. There was no real upside with all the effort that they put in to this house except for giving a nice home to someone who was in need. The amount of time, energy, and money they put into this place to have it look like this? Why? Why would someone ever do that to someone? So immediately after discovering the state of the house, Demi messaged Shay, confronting her about the condition of the property. She said that she was shocked and devastated from what she found, and that if she didn't hear back, she would assume that due to the property damage and the health violations, Shay would no longer have access to the house. This time, Shay actually responded with an apology. She admitted that she was lost and confused about being an adult, and that she was only 19 years old and didn't know what she was doing. Shay then said that she was sorry about everything and that she was upset and disappointed in herself as well. Nope.
Okay.
No matter how you've been brought up, you can easily recognize someone's generosity here. And to completely neglect that and use the excuse of, oh, I'm only 19 years old, that is just laughably stupid. That is pathetic. I, like probably most of you guys, had moved out of my parents' house by the time I was 19. And I doubt any of us left our first home in that condition. So Demi rightfully reclaimed the house due to the extensive damage, and Shay accepted this with no resistance whatsoever. But then, 2 weeks later, as you can guess, the story just got even weirder. Shay then decided to post a TikTok video calling out Demi and making it seem like Demi had just decided to take the house back for no good reason at all. Hold up, what? What? So at this point,
That's absolutely fucking disgusting.
Demi had stayed completely silent about what had actually happened. She hadn't said anything publicly about the condition of the house or anything about Shay's months of absence. So then, I guess she had to make this video.
You might have seen this video. In order to protect Shay, I had decided not to post anything about this entire situation, but now it's time to come with the receipts.
But when Shay posted that original video, Demi started getting bombarded with hate comments and messages from people who essentially thought that she cruelly took the house away from someone in need. This basically forced Demi's hand to provide all the receipts. So she had no choice but to share the screenshots of their text conversations and explain what had actually happened. The months of no communication, the trashed house, everything that we've covered up until now. And after Demi's side of the story blew up, it didn't take long for Shay to make all of her social media accounts private and remove all of her content. And as far as I know, since Shay never signed off for the house transfer documents, Demi still owns the house, and presumably had to spend even more money getting it back to a livable condition. However, after everything that happened, she understandably stopped sharing any future updates about this situation publicly, which is honestly just heartbreaking on every level. You have Demi, who spent so much time and probably
This is why we can't have nice things.
tens of thousands of dollars turning a worthless bobby pin into a fully renovated house. Also, she could, I guess, try to change someone's life for the better. But then you have Shay, who, regardless of her rough circumstances, showed up and destroyed that dream. And unfortunately for Shay, that might have been the handout of her lifetime. Because honestly, I don't think there will ever be anyone else in her life that will step up for her like the stranger on the internet Demi did for her. The fact that it ended this way is just tragic for everyone involved. The truth is, like, we may never know the full story of what happened in that house during those 14 months. Was it just teenage irresponsibility? Was there some substance abuse involved? Maybe some mental health issues that weren't being addressed? Like, could it be that Shay was secretly renting the house out to other people and they were the ones who destroyed this? Who knows? There's so many random possibilities here. Or maybe the problem was giving such
It's possible.
huge responsibility to someone so young who had never had any stability in their life. When you've never had a real home,
Also very possible.
maybe you don't know how to take care of one. Who knows? But what is clear is someone was given an incredible opportunity. A completely free house, no strings attached, along with $10,000 and a bunch of items, and somehow ended up trashing the place and disappearing for over a year. This whole situation is just a reminder that real life is very complicated, and sometimes even the most generous gestures can go wrong with no fault of the person trying to help. But hopefully, stories like this don't discourage people from being kind and generous in the future. The world definitely needs more people like Demi, who are willing to go out of their way and help others, even if it doesn't always work out the way they'd hoped for. But either way, what Demi and her husband did was incredibly inspiring, and nobody can ever take that away from them. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like on this video if you enjoyed the story, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. No way did a fly into my softbox. I've had one fly terrorize me for the last, 2 days. How long do...
I hate flies. They're filthy, they're harbingers of disease, and they're so hard to kill.
Those flies... 28 days?
Same old phone? Nah. Upgrade to the new Galaxy Z Fold 7.
Alright, well, let's
subscribe.
Let's go into the closing thoughts. It really is a shame when other people's generosity gets chewed up and spat back in their face. I know exactly where people are coming from when they say about how they'll never do something nice again when, the nice thing they did It winds up getting used and abused, and it's honestly quite sad. Let's hope the next thing's a little more fun. And the next thing is...
Drop a like on this video.
Whoops, I am not used to using the buttons like that. The Return of the AK-50 by Brendan Herrera. Let's give this a watch-a-rooney. Hell yeah.
What? You didn't think we forgot about the AK-50, did you?
What's going on, guys? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. This bad boy needs no introduction, but for those who don't know, this is my gun. The AK-50. Where AK-50? Here
AK-50.
It's real.
I can touch
you
now.
It's been a while since we've done an
Nice.
update or a video on the AK-50 project, and I guess for good reason. It's kind of done. We had this version of the AK-50, this prototype, finished last year. But as always, when we have time to tinker with it, we're always making small little incremental changes, little stuff here and there, just things that we weren't quite happy with, that we went back to the drawing board and changed up. We'll get into a few of those at the range. Like, for example, the pistol grip. Now Zenitco. I really like the feel of the Zenitco. I think it's the RK3. I like the feel of that pistol grip on this. Plus, I think it just matches the AK-50's look right now. I would also be remiss to leave out the fact that you can now play with the AK-50 in Tarkov.
Goddamn right!
Sweet.
Our boy Nikita over at Battle State Games asked a couple months ago if they could put the AK-50 in Tarkov. I know we get like 1 million DMs after that. Did you see AK-50 in Tarkov? Yes, motherfucker, they asked. Take notes, Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's flattering to be done, but it is nice to be asked.
A little embarrassing. The Russians had to teach you how to not steal IP. Anyhow, big fan of the game, so it was really cool to see a game that I enjoy include my baby. So now you too can go around and waste half-starved, drug-addicted scavengers with 50 cals. And then you could boot up Tarkov. Our boy Willer's actually got some really cool footage with it.
Oh man, bro, look at Ergo.
Guy's like one of the best Tarkov players on the planet. Now that Cody's back into streaming, we'll probably play a little bit. I know Nikita dropped us a little bit of goodies, so I finally get to play with my gun in game. So who knows, maybe I'll drop in on Mr. Donut Operator and we'll do some streams there. We got a bunch of stuff coming up for the AK-50. We've got a 20-round drum magazine that we've been working with. Yes, we've seen the Barrett drums. Yes, we are working with them. We wanted to make sure we had everything dialed in first though, which is actually what we're doing today in this video. Trying to get the AK-50 to the perfect gas and recoil spring tuning so that it functions as reliably as possible. We're already roughly at like the 500 round mark with this thing, which is fucking awesome. Like she's running like a champ, but we are noticing some stuff that we're still like, it could just be a little better. But to make it better, we need data.
Always seek improvement.
Yeah, which is why we have to go out to the range and, I don't know, test some stuff out. Awkward transition.
Welcome to the 100-degree sweat test. Secret clinical versus ordinary antiperspirant. Turn up the heat. Looks like...
So we're just gonna be talking about recoil spring and why we're doing slow-mo and all that?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, cool.
We can just go ahead and rip the top cover off too if we want.
I will go get a tool.
Oh, yeah, well.
We've never shown taking the top cover off on camera because it's a massive pain.
Yeah, it sounded really good on paper though.
Yeah.
Prototyping. It's fantastic. So originally the way we were doing this is we'd have a little like a pull. What would you call that? Like
a key ring?
Yeah, a key ring. A little.
Just a really thick key ring.
Have that something like that. You could just reach in, pull down, and then pull the top cover off. And turns out that just didn't fucking work.
Yeah, it turns out to retain, you know, however many 3 or 4 pound dust cover, you need a pretty strong spring. And so we just kind of kept upscaling the spring until it wasn't possible to pull the keyring anymore. So now you need tools to pull it apart. We've got some ideas on how to tweak it, but we're not there yet.
Yep. Rip her off there.
You put one punch in there to pull it down. You put the second punch to lock it. And now, you just muscle the dust cover back. It'll be fine. It's a 50 cal optic.
Which he's not coming.
That's it. I'm getting me mallet.
That's it. I'm getting me mallet.
What does freedom mean to you? All right, you're here on this channel, so I got an idea. But freedom means being in the driver's seat, on the road and in life. But debt hijacks that. When you're buried in credit cards, loans, medical bills, you're not calling the shots anymore. The banks are. That's why folks are turning to PDS debt. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people get back in control, pay less, and move forward. You can take the wheel and take back your future. They go beyond just numbers and try to figure out your unique financial situation to find a solution for you. And if you're worried, no, there's no minimum credit score required. They're just here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and put your money where it truly belongs. Back in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau, and they have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google. Just think, you could be 30 seconds away from being debt-free. So get your free assessment and find out the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/Brandon. That's pdsdebt.com/Brandon. Thank you again to PDS Debt for sponsoring the video. Back to the 50.
So with the mallet, we can smack on the carry handle. There you go. It's not on there that tight. It's like just enough that you can't get it by hand. Again, prototype.
Speaking of prototype, I forgot this was all of our extra shit storage back here.
Yeah, so this space, you kind of need a certain amount of length on the gun to fit a human being. So this space back here kind of does nothing other than give you length to be able to shoulder the gun. So we put our storage in there.
Which is very AK.
Yeah, very AK. And this time we're missing the Skittles. So
oh yeah, we didn't have the fucking Carnicon Skittles?
No.
Shit.
So next thing for taking it apart is this thing does take more or less a standard AK recoil spring assembly. We have an extra power spring on there as a coupler up here to get the spring long enough for this setup. And while this does work, it's lasted 400 or 500 rounds so far. It doesn't last super long because the math for making springs work on these guns is actually pretty hard. And in reality, it's easier to just try it and see if it works. So that's what we did, and it worked, so we haven't touched it. But here we are, 400 or 500 rounds later, the spring's finally starting to wear out. So what we're gonna do today is we're actually gonna fire it without a spring to figure out how fast this bolt carrier group is coming back from the gas. And then from that speed, we can figure out how strong the spring needs to be and make new springs.
I don't know if you know this, but this gun wasn't designed to be fired without a recoil spring. And we're basically just measuring carrier velocity to see how strong our spring needs to be. But in order to do that, we can't have any resistance on it. So we're just gonna fucking send it, and this thing is just gonna beat the back of the gun at Mach fuck. But I'm pretty sure she can take it.
I think it'll be fine, especially for maybe 2 or 3 rounds should hopefully be enough.
Yeah.
That's what these guys are for. So on this system, we actually have a buffer spring here where when the bolt carrier hits the back, it smacks this big old spring that helps absorb extra energy. And that's part of why it shoots so soft. We don't want to destroy the spring. So we have these little solid plastic buffers that just drop in there. So we can maybe crush that with recoil or whatever, and it'll keep the bolt carrier from hopping out the back of the gun without destroying our spring. Oh yeah, actually, I have to pull this piece out so we don't lose it. I can show you that spring we were talking about. So this is the dust cover lock here. I'm gonna try and not shoot it in my face. There we go. That's pretty strong. We have this big old spring. That's what we're fighting to take the gun apart. We forgot to bring our patented test fire string. So we have a bore snake with a loop on it. We're just gonna hook that on the trigger.
Whatever works.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the gun blowing up or whatever, so I don't need to be super far away from it. I just don't want to be behind it in case the carrier does come out.
It is really funny though. It has been over a year since we've done any sort of AK-50 test from a string. Feels like we're getting back to the good old days.
Yeah, I always forget that the general public doesn't see that we're always tinkering with this gun like 24/7. It keeps running, it's doing fine, but we're always doing incremental improvements to it, and it's usually not enough to warrant a video.
Yeah. AK-50 update. We changed the springs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this.
They never glamorous.
They never saw this new piston assembly.
Oh shit, that's right. So take this out. I love that, the PKM style.
Yeah.
Fucking bolt carrier, the piston pivot.
Yeah.
But this new little piece here
So we had to make a new, I don't even know what you would call this, piston shaft, I guess, the intermediate piece, the shiny one here. We were having an issue where when the casing would eject, it would hit the rod that used to be here, and casings would kind of fall back into the gun. Sometimes they'd kind of get crushed. It would do all sorts.
That's not good.
Bad things. So we had to make a new one with this big scoop on the side to let them get out.
Which is really cool because if you look at some of the Saiga series, like the 12 gauge and stuff like that, they have a very similar cut on the pistons. So this is still, you know, I just love being able to take pieces from other AKs and just put it all in together into something that works. Even the PKM style pivot was from a Kalashnikov, the PKM. Plus, it's got a bunch of flutes in it. That looks cool.
Yeah. Sometimes we reinvent the wheel by accident, like that. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna need ejection cuts in this, and I start modeling it, and then I don't know, Nick's like, isn't that just a Saiga 12? I'm like, oh yeah, it is just a Saiga 12. I figure we'll do the first one with just a round in the chamber, so we don't have any drag from the magazine.
That's fair.
And if that works, we'll put a full magazine in it and get another reading.
Perfect.
Cool.
See if they're the same.
Yeah. All right, guys, going hot in a sec.
So we don't really need anything crazy frame rate wise. So I've got my iPhone here tuned to 240 frames per second. Now I get to be the camera guy. The only thing is the vents on this are not going to feel great being directly next to it.
Oh yeah. Firing! 3, 2, 1. All right. That definitely threw the brass further.
Yeah. She wasn't really slowing down.
Yep, clear. Even the plastic buffer looks okay. I was expecting, like, if it had a ton of energy coming back, it would probably shatter this or at least dent it. It looks fine.
Let's see what the video looks like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was worried about the frame rate not being enough to get a good reading, but that'll be totally fine.
Yeah, especially frame by frame on that.
Yeah.
So we're able to go.
That's nice.
Yeah, oh yeah, we got plenty of frames on
that'll
that.
work. Cool.
Perfect.
Okay, so I figure.
I got it working, but I can't see chat.
Oh, okay. So you are streaming.
Yes.
So no gamer words.
Okay.
Oh man.
This place is a prison on planet bullshit.
As we're out here playing with the fiddy.
Yeah.
We can do another one without the magazine just for a control. Make sure it's about the same, and then we can do 2 with the magazine, and I think that'll be fine.
It's pretty much all the data we need.
Yeah, it's hopefully pretty consistent with the same ammo. And when you rip the 5 rounds off at the beginning of the video, they all went more or less the same.
Yeah, it was remarkably consistent, that ejection pattern. So if you haven't noticed by now, where we had the SpongeBob tape on the AK-50 V2, here we got this little strip right here. One of the drive tanks guys asked earlier, is like, oh, is that to cover the serial number? I'm like, well, no. If regardless of what the serial number says, if somebody else has an AK-50, that's already a bit of a problem. But no, what we're actually using this for here is for measurement, for in the slow-mo to be able to have a more concrete unit of measurement for distance traveled per frame.
Firing! 3, 2, 1. Woo! That one went real far.
Oh yeah.
It went all the way back to them.
Like this. Introducing the Old Spice NFL collection. Try again.
How's the rim look? Okay.
I don't know if that's just me, but that almost looks slower.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but that does look kind of slower. It almost looks like the gun recoiled more, though.
Yeah. It chucked the brass a lot farther.
That's for sure. Because, like, if it's recoiling a different amount between 2 different rounds from the same ammo brand, I don't know how that could be anything but ammo.
Do we want to do a third one just so we have a range, like a consistent range?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Oops. Firing! 3, 2, 1.
Damn, that's pretty far.
That one went not quite as far, but pretty far. Maybe the sandbag was supporting it better before.
I think that's part of it.
Okay, cool. I'll load up the magazine.
So now we're going to be loading up a full magazine. The first 3 we're just inserting around in the chamber, so that way it's not going to have any sort of drag from the mag. But what's also helpful to know is how it's going to behave when it has a loaded magazine, because that top round is keeping tension on the bolt and carrier, which will affect the speed of the carrier returning, or at least in theory. It might not do it in any meaningful way, but there's only one way to find out. We're about to do it.
Okay, so we started with a magazine full of PMC. Brandon ripped 5 rounds in semi-auto normally. We've been test firing with PMC. I only have 2 rounds of PMC left, so the first 2 we are firing are PMC for consistency, and after that we have MagTech. We mentioned earlier that firing without the spring is a good way to figure out how much energy the carrier is getting from the gas and all that to figure out our new spring. It is technically possible to figure out what our current spring rate is with the ones we had in it and like reverse engineer back through the math to get
Science is so interesting on this.
our energy to then reverse engineer back to the new spring. We tried it. We got inconsistent results because we're not real engineers, and it's not really a good number because those springs are old and kind of worn out. So it's better to just start from nothing.
Plus, like, I've never liked the idea of doing something on paper that we could just do in reality. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like there's what theoretically will work, and then there's what we fucking know will work because
Yeah.
we did it, you know?
It takes any guesswork out, especially it takes human error out of the math and all that too.
Yeah, especially when there's no good reason. Like certain things you have to do on the computer first and like kind of walk it in, but like we have the fucking gun.
Yeah, certain things like whether or not it's going to explode. That's good to do in the
that's
camera.
pretty good to know.
There we go. Make sure our angle's still good. Cool. Firing! 3, 2, 1. Okay, definitely not as far. We're gonna do the second one just right in a row.
Cool.
All right. Firing! 3, 2, 1. Oh, it didn't go. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Getting blue balled by the 50 on that one.
Yeah. Turns out using a really stretchy bore snake is not a good idea for a trigger spring. All right, gun's clear.
Cool. Not noticeably slower.
No, the first one went a little shorter by a couple feet, and the second one landed in like the same spot. Okay.
Still useful to know.
For sure. I mean, I think that's a good sign that the geometry of like how the carrier interacts with the magazine is pretty sound.
Yeah, it's not obstructive.
Yeah, because like if you take, for example, a Barrett that the magazine is developed for, a very fleshed out gun. If you take a Barrett, load a full mag in it and charge it, it doesn't really feel any different.
Yeah.
So it's good that we're in the same ballpark, I guess.
Great success.
Yep. No chipping. Nice even contact, it looks like.
That's the S7 one?
Yeah, this is the brand new one. We heat treated this extractor on Friday.
So we have them marked, yeah, right there. So we've got a couple different extractors that we're rolling with. This one's the S7 one. We have them marked there so you can tell what kind of steel it is. And there you see the dimples from where it was hardness tested. So making sure it was the hardness we thought it was before slapping it in the gun. But as you can see, there's no chipping, no obvious signs of wear. So right out the gate, that's a good sign.
So we actually have gone through one extractor on this gun so far. Our first prototype did chip because of what we were talking about here, where we needed this clearance. Basically, when the casing was coming out, it was kind of hitting that, and it's got all this energy coming back, and it had to go somewhere. So it was bending the extractor in ways it wasn't supposed to move. And we chipped it during the initial testing, and then just kept limping it through, and it was running okay. But it was definitely wearing out, so.
It was pretty funny because most of what you saw of the firing AK-50 was with half a fucking extractor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's good we fixed that.
Yeah, doing a lot better.
We could take that tape off now too, I think.
Oh yeah.
6-inch measuring device, which I think this is wrong. That's way more than 6 inches. So we definitely appreciate the Drive Tanks guys letting us use the range. Been using it a little bit this morning for a couple of videos, including this one. And a lot of their guys have not shot the AK-50 yet, so we're gonna rectify that.
That's pretty fucking cool. Dude, one of them brass casings hitting in my nut.
You get that on them bigger shots.
That is so cool.
Didn't even move.
Oh,
Great
man.
cameraman.
Dude, that's pretty fucking I know, wicked. That's smoother than the Barrett.
It doesn't recoil bad at all.
No, that's really nice. Oh, you're so right. That's way smoother than the Barrett.
That double tap was gnarly.
I actually really like that. I can see what you're talking about with that smooth recoil, dude.
You've been doing your squats, buddy.
Oh, that is smooth as shit.
What you think?
That is smooth, like he was saying, way smoother than the Barrett.
For the record, I didn't mean for this to turn into an impromptu shit on Barrett thing, but we love Barrett. They're very nice. Well, I hope you enjoyed all of that beautiful AK-50 porn. It's a really good date out of that range day. Plus, it's always a good time to break the 50 out and let people shoot it. Definitely a crowd pleaser, and you know, as much as I talk about firearm history, it's really neat to be able to say that in one small part, we contributed a little bit to that. Makes me feel all tingly inside. Either that or it's the rhabdo. It's certainly one of those two things. So in summary, AK-50 is not going anywhere. In fact, it is now functioning better than ever with a couple of improvements that we'll be making soon to, again, just get this to the best version of what it could possibly be. Then we'll stick a fucking drum on it. Anyhow, it's been my pleasure to continuously, again, walk you through the AK-50 project. I know a lot of you guys have been here since the very beginning. And it's just really cool to be able to experience this along with you. A lot of cool videos coming up, including a very special announcement very soon. It's going to make a lot of you guys very happy and a lot of other people very unhappy. So stick around for that. I appreciate you guys as always, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top.
Alright, well, I'm glad he's still working on it, even though it's basically finished. I'm glad he's perfecting it before it winds up going to production, hopefully. And with that, I think we're going to call it a stream here. I think that was pretty productive. I'm going to get a little bit of rest. Maybe be back on later tonight. Maybe tomorrow. But I will see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.